Two children, one destiny, but very different paths. We watch them as they begin their journey together. That was the day everything changed, a moment frozen in time when the weight of the world felt heavy upon.
You remind me of your father. And what about me?
Life won't save you, so you must learn to save yourself.
Relax. Life is meant to be enjoyed.
Tunday will figure things out.
Relax. Nami dey run am. Nothing dey sup. Everything is completely under control.
Something isn't adding up.
Tunday, do not lie to me. Did you take the money?
Would love to treat you to lunch this weekend. Me gonna take care of him. Boss, no worry.
What have I done to you? Son, finish. You go die today. Who goes
Yeah,
here?
leave and there. Make we dey go. Before person go see us.
I thought I lost you, Dio.
Impossible.
I hereby sentence the accused to 19 years imprisonment with hard labor.
Oh, Cormi, forgive me for everything.
A story about twins, betrayal, and the truth that refused to die. Have you ever watched someone get away with evil again and again and again, and wondered if justice would ever come? This is the story of two twins who grew up in the same house, ate the same food, and slept under the same roof, but became two completely different people. One was protected from everything. The other was prepared for everything. And when the storm finally came, only one of them was ready for it. Hit the like and subscribe button, and type in the comments the country you're watching this video from. Let's juggle through this wonderful story of love, hurt, and betrayal. Tunday and Tami Adeyemi were born on the same day, in the same hospital, to the same parents. But from the moment their father died, their lives went in two different directions. They were only 4 years old when it happened. Their father, Chief Balaji Adeyemi, was a wealthy businessman who loved his family deeply. When he died in a car accident, he left behind a lot of assets, money, and 2 small children. They were too young to grasp why Daddy wouldn't be coming home. Their mother, Mrs. Funkle Adeyemi, was heartbroken and she never remarried. Instead, she poured all her love into Tunday because every time she looked at him, she saw her late husband's face. Same nose, smile, and eyes. Temi. She loved her too, but she was strict with her. She would always say to her, a woman must be able to stand on her own. Nobody will save you in this life, if you don't save yourself. So Tunday got everything he wanted, while Temi got lessons. Whenever Tunday cried, he got candy. Meanwhile, whenever Temi cried, she got a lecture about being strong. When Tunday failed a test, his mom called the teacher, but whenever Temi failed a test, her mom said, study harder. It was not fair, and everyone could see it. Temi had a secret weapon. Grandma Dolapo Adeyemi, she was her father's mother, a sharp, warm woman. Grandma built a textile factory which she had built from the ground up with her late husband. Her late son had been the one managing it till he passed away, while Funk Sash the managing director. Every weekend, Temi went to Grandma's house and Grandma taught her how to read balance sheets, solve problems, and think before she acted. Your mother loves you, Grandma always said. She just shows it the wrong way, but I am here, and I will never leave you. Temi believed her. Tunday learned a key lesson. No matter what he did, someone would always clean up the mess. And so both of them grew up. One became a storm, the other became a rock. When the twins finished high school, their mother sent them to the same private university in Ogun State. It was an expensive school and she spared no cost. Temi's love for numbers and calculation led her to study accounting. She became one of the best accounting students in her department and gained favor amongst her lecturers. She was polite, punctual, and respectful. Her coursemates used to call her the machine not to insult her, but because her focus was almost unnatural. Due to his lack of drive and motivation, Tunday chose to study business administration. He attended class whenever he felt like it, which was not very often. He spent more time in the school cafeteria than in the lecture halls. He made friends fast, he had an affinity for loud and rowdy people, and soon ended up with the wrong crowd. There was no mom to curtail his excess, and he soon became a party animal, always in the club and parties around and outside of the campus area. By his second year, Tunday had joined a cult group called the Buccaneers. On campus, people called them the Sea Lords. They wore red and yellow, walked in groups, and carried a reputation that made lecturers nervous and students step aside. Though they were not a violent group, they tend to show off their flashy lifestyles, which made them notorious amongst ladies on campus. Temi found out the same week everyone else did. She didn't cry about it. She just stored the information. Their mother found out too. When she called Tunday, he denied it and she believed him. In his third year, Tunday fought with a lecturer over a girl he liked. He couldn't stand that the lecturer was failing her because she wouldn't date him. A rift formed among the faculty, leading to a big meltdown. One day, Tunday and two friends were outside the cafeteria when he saw Joan, the girl he liked, crying because she was given a carryover in a 4-unit course, which was very important to her. This made him angry, so he decided to confront the lecturer that day. He went and confronted the lecturer while he was still in the lecture hall. The university had no choice. They expelled him and sacked the lecturer, too. Mrs. Funkel Adeyemi drove to the school that same day. She begged the vice-chancellor, even offered money and promised to donate to the school's bursary department, but nothing worked. Tunday came home with his bags and shrugged like it was somebody else's problem. This prompted his mom to enroll him in National Open University, which he was able to attend from home, as it was partly online and also in school, which wasn't as often as his previous school. But his chaotic lifestyle didn't stop. He even started staying out late. Sometimes he would stay away from home for weeks, and would only come home when he was low on funds. 2 years later, Temi walked across the stage at her graduation and collected her degree in accounting, a first class with a 4.5 CGPA. The hall erupted with thunderous claps, as she was also named the best graduating student. Her grandma, sitting in the audience with tears running down her face, clapped the loudest. Her mother clapped too. She was proud and Temi could see it. But that evening, dinner was about Tunday, about how he was finding himself, about how he would start fresh soon. Temi ate her food and said nothing. She had learned a long time ago that the house had one son, and it was not her, and she was okay with that. She had her own light. After her NYSC, Temi got a job at Grandma Adeyemi's textile company, Aidmama Fabrics and Textiles. It was a proper job, her first with a proper salary, and she earned every naira of it. She managed the accounts, found errors, and fixed processes. Within 1 year, the company's books were cleaner than they had been in a decade. Grandma was proud of her and would always acknowledge it. Tunday also worked there, but he was more of a problem than an active member. This was their mother's doing. She had asked Grandma to give Tunday a role since his twin sister had a job too, and Grandma agreed. Tunday was given a position as operations manager. He came in late and left early most days. He was more of a nuisance than a helpful member of the company. He often stole money to party with friends. Temi would clear it every time, usually after telling Grandma and her mom, Funkel. When the first theft happened, someone had been quietly moving small amounts of money from the company account in small pieces, here and there. Temi found it during a quarterly review and audit as the accounts were not balanced. She traced it back and the transactions all linked to an internal login, Tunday's login. She went to Grandma directly. Grandma confronted him. He cried. He said someone must have used his account. Mrs. Funkel Adeyemi was called. More crying, more excuses, and Tunday kept his job. 3 months later, Temi found another gap in the accounts. The same pattern. She escalated it and still got a, "You know he's your brother. At least he's doing his job. You can't sack family." She stored that information too. Around this time, a man named Deo started coming to the office to purchase fabrics for a supplier. He didn't look rich nor exude such air or arrogance, but he spoke with confidence like a man who had nothing to fear. He drove a Toyota Corolla, a small car compared to Tunday's Highlander SUV, wore clean and ironed simple clothes, and had a warm smile with a quiet demeanor. He made Temi laugh with ease without even trying, and that was the first thing she noticed. He came back the following week and the week after. One day, while he came to pick up some orders, he stopped dead in his tracks and said to her, "The funny thing is that I'm used to seeing your face and your pretty smile, and every time I get past that gate, my heart asks me if I'm doing the right thing. And my head says the right thing to do is to ask you out to lunch this weekend, if it's not a tall order." She was caught off guard by that, and while she was thinking of what to reply, he added, "It's okay if you are busy or don't find it convenient, but I promise to have you back home safe, sound, and hopefully merrier." That was what she liked about him. He knew how to play his word game with ease and care. She said yes. Their relationship grew slowly and carefully, like the blossoming of a rose flower. When Temi told her mother she was seeing someone, her mother asked immediately, "What does he do? Who is his family?" When she heard he was a fabric supplier, a simple business, small scale, she shook her head. "Temi, you're a graduate. You have a first-class degree and a good job. My dear, you deserve better." Tunday was worse. He looked at Deo once at a family dinner and said, "What does this kind of person have to offer you, Temi? He can't even afford a proper car." Temi looked at her brother calmly. "Mind your business, Tunday." But Tunday did not mind his business, and that was the problem. Their love grew and blossomed despite the pushback from her mom and brother, but Grandma didn't seem to care. She found Deo amusing and also saw a nice young man who had a drive. Most of all, she saw the way Deo looked at Temi, and knew he truly loved her. This alone was enough to win her over. Grandma said to Funkle, Temi's mom, "Leave her be, as long as they're happy, that's all that counts. He reminds me of my late husband, Tobaloba. God rest his soul. He doesn't look or act that bad. He's just rough around the edges." That seemed to allay Funkle's fears and skepticism, but Tunday was a different case. The more he saw the together, the bitter he was. He couldn't fathom the pure fact that Temi was happy with a simple man, and wanted nothing more. He then resorted to name-calling and throwing sly comments at Deo to get Temi to reconsider, but she didn't, and it made him more upset. Tunday got so drunk in hate that he made a call, and 3 of his Buccaneer brothers, men who had never left the life they joined in university, met him at a bar on a Thursday night. He bought drinks and they talked quietly despite the loud music booming around them. He slid an envelope across the table and told them what he wanted done. They tracked Deo and found him some weeks later on a very cool Friday evening, while he was walking to his car after a delivery. They came from 3 directions and kidnapped him, took him to a remote location where they beat him badly after interrogating and torturing him for hours. When he was exhausted and almost dead, they took his almost lifeless body, dumped him by the road and drove away. A passerby coming from his farm found him some 40 minutes later. He wasn't taken to a hospital at first, for fear that whomever tried to kill him would go there to finish the job in the hospital. Luckily for him, although his phone was taken from him to make it seem like a robbery, he had an AirTag strapped to his trousers. An older man who happened to be his father and some of his bodyguards came later that evening after they were able to track his whereabouts through the AirTag. They took his son away before the police could be properly notified. That man was Deo's father. His full name was Mr. Babajide Coker. And he was not a small man. He was one of the biggest oil magnates in the South. His company operated 3 offshore rigs. He was the kind of man whose name appeared in newspapers, not gossip newspapers, but the kind that tracked money and power. He had kept his son's identity very quiet on purpose, as Deo had wanted a life that was his own, built with his own hands. His father understood and had agreed, until the night his son was found bleeding by the roadside. When the news came out about Deo's kidnapping, possibly death, and who his father was, Tunday felt something he was not used to feeling: fear. He was afraid that he may have made a terrible move. The 3 men who had beaten Deo were arrested within 4 days. Mr. Coker had resources that made police investigations move faster than normal, and the men were charged. They sat in a cell and they thought about the envelope Tunday had given them, and they thought about what they knew. They decided because Tunday had paid them well and he was part of their brotherhood, they would say nothing about him. The police file said it was a random attack, but Temi did not believe that for 1 second. She thought about the timing. She thought about her brother's feelings toward Deo. She thought about the men, the specific type of men, who had done it, and their affiliation with the Buccaneers. She felt there was more to it that met the eyes. She knew. But knowing was not enough. She needed proof. One day, while she was at work, her phone rang and it was Mr. Coker. "My son wants to speak to you," he said. His father had taken him to a private hospital and hidden the information. It was a calculated decision. Mr. Coker had looked at the situation and understood immediately that if the attackers knew Deo had survived, they would try again. So the story stayed quiet. No announcement. No update. As far as Tunday and his friends knew, Deo might be dead. Temi met Deo in a house in a quiet part of Abuja. He had lost weight. He walked with a slight limp. But his eyes were the same eyes. She held his face in her hands for a long time before either of them spoke. Then they sat with Mr. Coker and talked for 3 hours. Deo had seen Tunday that night. Before the attack, as he was walking to his car, he had turned and seen his face in the light of a street lamp. Tunday had been watching from a parked car down the road. He hadn't expected Deo to look back. Their eyes met for only 2 seconds. 2 seconds was enough. Mr. Coker had a very good lawyer, based in Lagos. A woman named Barrister Theodora Williams, who had prosecuted cult-related violence cases before and had no patience for men who derive joy in seeing others in pain. They built the case carefully. Dayo's account of seeing Tunday, and phone records because Tunday had called one of the arrested men during the torture to speak with Dayo. Financial records, because the transfer that the balance was sent from had come from the same internal account Tami had flagged twice at the company. One of the 3 arrested men had a lawyer who visited him in detention and asked him a very quiet question. Do you want to carry someone else's sentence for the rest of your life? Meanwhile, the main culprit would be a free man enjoying himself. The man thought about it for 3 days. Then he gave a different statement before the case went to court. 3 weeks into the trial, Grandma Adeyemi was called as a character witness, but she surprised everyone. She came with documents, records she had quietly been keeping for 2 years, of every internal theft, every suspicious transaction, every time Tunday's login appeared where it shouldn't. She had known. She had been building her own file, in case the day ever came when she needed it. I love my grandkids' children equally, she said on the stand. But love does not mean silence. Funkel sat in the gallery and heard her mother-in-law say these words, and something in her face cracked open. During the investigation, it also came out that one of the 3 attackers was not just a buccaneer, but he was an employee at Adeyemi Textiles, someone Tunday had hired 6 months prior using a fake recommendation. He had been placed there deliberately, as backup, in case Tunday ever needed help inside the company. Tunday's lawyer tried to argue that the phone records were circumstantial. Then Barrister Williams produced something nobody expected, a CCTV recording from a plaza camera 4 blocks from where the attack happened. The timestamp showed Tunday's car parked in the area at exactly the time of the beating. He had told his mother he was in Abuja that weekend. The courtroom went very quiet. The final day of the trial was a Thursday. The gallery was full. Family members, journalists, a few people from the textile company. Mrs. Adeyemi sat in the front row with a handkerchief pressed to her mouth. She had visited Tunday in detention 3 times a week since his arrest. She had told everyone it was all a mistake. Barrister Nwachukwu stood up and said she had one final witness. The door at the back of the courtroom opened. Dayo walked in. The sound in the room was immediate, a sharp, collective intake of breath, like the room itself was surprised. Tunday, sitting at the defendant's table, looked up. His face went pale. His lawyer grabbed his arm. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. Dayo walked to the stand slowly, with his slight limp. He placed his hand on the Bible. He looked directly at Tunday the entire time he was sworn in. Then he told the court exactly what happened. From the beginning. The relationship. The family dinner where Tunday had insulted him. The night of the attack. The 2 seconds of eye contact under the street lamp. He was calm. His voice did not shake. When Tunday's lawyer cross-examined him, trying to suggest he was confused or mistaken about what he saw, Dayo answered every question cleanly. Then the lawyer asked, "Is it not possible you imagined you saw my client? You were in a state of fear and confusion." Dayo paused for exactly 1 second. "I had looked at his face many times at his family's table," he said. "I know his face. I was not confused." The judge was quiet for a long time before delivering the verdict. Guilty. Tunday Adeyemi was sentenced to 14 years in prison for conspiracy to commit grievous bodily harm, financing violence. Mrs. Adeyemi cried in the way that people cry when they have no more arguments left. It was grief, the kind she should have allowed herself years earlier when she first started bailing Tunday out of things he should have faced on his own. Tami stood outside the courthouse with her grandmother's hand in hers. She did not feel joy. She felt something quieter than that. Relief, maybe. The feeling of a long wait finally being set down. Grandma Adeyemi looked at her and said, "Your father would be proud." Tami nodded. 6 months later, she married Dayo in a small wedding in Lagos. Grandma sat in the front row. Mrs. Adeyemi was there too. She had visited Tami 3 weeks before the wedding and sat in her living room and said very little but stayed for 2 hours. Before she left, she said, "I was not fair to you. I know it." Tami looked at her mother for a moment. Then she said, "I know you loved us both. You just showed it differently." She did not say it to make her mother feel better. She said it because it was true, and because Tami had always been the kind of person who said true things, even when a lie would have been easier.
When one child is rescued from every mistake, they never learn how to avoid making them. When another is made to face things on their own, they build a strength that cannot be taken away. Tunde was not born bad. He was raised to believe that nothing with what you think should happen. You can watch other videos suggested for you while we're sick.